What's up everybody, Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic and I am back with another collection update, another sizable one too. And once again we are going over some stuff that I got in Denver, both at the Denver Deathfest and in the awesome record stores in Denver because I had to go shopping. Everyone knows that if I'm out of town and there's record shops, I'm gonna be fucking in them. Not a lot of surprises in this one. There was one that was teased in the Denver Deathfest recap video. And outside of that, this is an absolutely savage stack of pretty brutal shit here, and we're gonna get right down to it. All right, we have a split here from Invidiosus and L.P.P. Now this is one I got from one of the bands that we're playing. It was the band Rottenness, which we will go over here in this stack as well. And at least the Invidiosus project is the one that the frontman of that band is involved in. Now, Invidiosus is a Minnesota-based death grind act, and this shit's fucking wild. Like, it's really intense. I have to say I like the opening and closing because it opens and closes with the Star Spangled Banner as played on gritty, disgusting guitars, and yeah, no, it kind of fucking works. It's a little silly, off-kilter, and then it just breaks into absolutely furious death grind, favoring most of the grind side, but it's got some seriously savage riffs. The drum work is absolutely intense, and the vocals are fucking feral as hell, which I'll definitely bring up the vocalist again in Rottenness because he does a killer job in there as well. The one thing that kind of caught me off guard on their side is the lead work. On the song Water Intoxication, it's actually really solid, and death grind generally isn't a style that, you know, I talk about the lead work very much because generally it's just a lot of savage dive bombs and we're back to blast beats and guttural vocals and all that shit, and yeah, there's some really cool lead work on here. Now this split is very short, and actually their one side is even shorter, and yeah, it's awesome. It's just packed full of riffs and grindy songs, and I dug it. Now L.P.P. was one I had never heard of before, and they were a band that did not have a single member that played at Denver Deathfest because they are from South Korea. And if you are wondering what L.P.P. stands for, it stands for Little Puppy Princess. The most savage grindcore name ever. They are, well, grindcore, crust punk, hardcore. It's all that short, violent shit packed into, I think maybe like, 7 minutes of music on their side. Maybe. I might be being generous there. Either way, their side is much more raw, much more kind of gore grindy sounding. Like, there's actually a lot of stuff in there that remind me of like specifically like Japanese grindcore bands like Butcher ABC and Bathtub Shitter, which are both really fucking solid bands. It's very frantic and punky, it's kind of unhinged, and just kind of absolutely ridiculous. A lot of this is blast beats and just kind of gross sounding guitars, like maybe like a little bit of like Putrefaction worship there. But there's some really savage, brutal death metal breakdowns on here on Human Prohibited and LXPXAX. Don't know what that stands for. I don't know, it can't possibly be as cool as Little Puppy Princess. That has to be one of the best names for a grindcore band I think I have ever heard. Way to go, guys. But yeah, this is short, violent, ridiculous. If you like, again, just, kind of over-the-top grindcore, death grind, whatever you want to call it. It's violent, it's fast, it is ugly as hell, and a lot of fun. So yeah, check it out. Isil-Anna Sedora. This is the 8th full-length and most recent offering from this Swedish epic doom metal act. I actually brought up one of their albums, Born in Shadows, in a underrated doom metal video fucking forever ago, and I absolutely love that album. Great melodies, great vocal hooks, somber, doomy, bleak, oppressive. It's pretty much everything I would want out of epic doom metal. And the thing I like about them is they don't get too epic. It's just, I don't know, super sad, super depressing, but very, very melodic. Like, this is almost like a flat-out doom metal version of Catatonia, at least like modern Catatonia. I absolutely love the vocals. They are very grim but tuneful, and they do pepper in some heavier vocals, like some more harsh ones, especially on tracks like Monotonic Scream, Twisted Games, and In Abundance. Now, when this is like heavy across the board, I think the back half gets even more dark and oppressive and even like sonically heavier. Like, it gets chunkier on the guitars and it just kind of gets like a little bit more aggressive. And I kind of liked as this album flowed, it got darker and more sinister, especially when you get down to the last track, Vanity, which is just almost like a funeral doom song. Like, it just kind of hangs there like a just murky fog over a fucking cemetery. Like, it's that kind of just bleak and dark and sinister sound, and I absolutely love it. Actually, it's one of my favorite tracks on here. Now, I only own Born in Shadows in this one, but 2 for 2 in terms of picking up their stuff. I love this entire album. I do think the cover's a little odd. I don't know, there's just something about it with the little dude in the cover by the gate. Looks like the Penguin coming home from a long day of not being as cool as other Batman villains. But everything else about this album, I think, is absolutely fantastic. If you're a fan of Candlemass and Chemist, I think there's definitely some comparisons to Chemist on here too. Definitely check this out. I think every song on here is pretty much a banger, and pretty much if you like your music bleak, but also tuneful and kind of catchy, just check out this band. It's a fucking awesome release. Jungle Rot, Fueled by Hate. This is the 4th album from this Wisconsin old school death metal band. Pretty much kind of like underground legends. They are champions of all things old school fucking meat and potatoes death metal. And this was one of the few that I was actually missing in my collection. I have some shitty boots of a couple other albums that I definitely want to replace, but I never owned this one. And this was one I was definitely after because I'd heard tracks from it and I really dug it. Now, there isn't a lot of variety in Jungle Rot sound, but you don't get Jungle Rot albums for variety. You get them for riffs, groove, and songs about killing people and war. And this album supplies all that. And honestly, it does it very fucking well. Lots of thrashy sections, lots of big syncopated grooves. Again, their sound is, you know, kind of universal across the board. They really don't change very much. But when they execute it well, you can definitely feel it. And that is what I get on this one. Like, all the songs just have energy to them. They got bite. I do think that this one might be more of the template for a lot of their more modern output. The production is a little bit more cleaned up in comparison to like the first 3 albums where it's notably a little bit sludgier and murkier. And I mean, honestly, I really love that sound too, but I kind of like this crisper production here, especially the guitar tone. The guitar tone's got like some serious weight to it. And you can definitely feel that weight on the last track, More Demon Souls, which has an almost slam breakdown on it. It's just fucking heavier than hell, but yeah, I loved every track in here. Like, again, it's Jungle Rot doing what Jungle Rot does well. I mean, Gasping for Air is amazing. Scars of Suffering's awesome. It's Jungle Rot. They're just doing Jungle Rot well here, and I really fucking dug this. And yeah, if you're a fan of like Obituary and I'd say like Mortal Skull too, to a degree. I would even go as far as to say 6 Feet Under, even though I think Jungle Rot's a lot better than 6 Feet Under. I'm sure there are some 6 Feet Under fans out there that would argue, but I'm not hearing it. Anyway, check this one out. It's another banger from Jungle Rot. Honestly, I think it's one of their stronger albums. And yeah, old school fucking rules. Knights of the Abyss, Juggernaut. This is the debut album from this, I guess now defunct, Arizona-based deathcore act. Pretty much, they were kind of known for being Black Dahlia Murder copycats, at least on, you know, some of their later albums, which they did get better in terms of their overall sound, because this one I kind of got just because I was missing it. Like, I have the other 2. Honestly, I think their last album was really solid, and as much as Shades definitely dick rides Black Dahlia Murder like big time, like they're not even hiding it, it's still a pretty decent album. This, however, is just what you kind of expect from, you know, middle of the road deathcore that came out in 2007, which is the year that this came out. It's just kind of there. Like, the songs are every trope of deathcore you would expect from that era. You have a breakdown like every fucking 10 seconds. There are blast beats. You have low vocals and high vocals. There are some more clever riffs on I Pledge a Grievance. That's kind of a fun song title. I'll give them credit there. And Decaying Waste and Dragon Pie. That's kind of stupid. They both have some, like, you know, nice mellow death riffs in there, and, you know, deathcore and metalcore around that time loved the fuck out of mellow death and incorporated it any way they possibly could. But even in its most intense moments where it should be just kind of revving you up, it really just doesn't. And even if I was more into deathcore, like, in fact, if I had bought this in 2007 when it dropped, I probably would be saying the same thing, because I thought there was a lot of deathcore out there that just did this better. This also has some production issues. Like, there's some poorly placed synths on here that just flat out don't fit. And I really don't like the guitar tone in here. Like, the guitars just sound off. They sound like they were recorded inside of a porta potty or something like that. Like, maybe they wanted a more raw sound on the guitars, but it didn't sound very good. So yeah, I didn't like this one very much. I still think their other two albums are pretty decent, especially the last one. Their last one is probably the best one they did, and kind of tightened up their formula a little bit and, well, lessened the amount of Black Dahlia Murder Dick writing that they were doing on at least the second album, a little bit on this one. It's an okay deathcore album. If you like mid-2000s deathcore, I'd say check it out, give it a whirl. It might not be your thing, it wasn't mine, but you won't know until you check it out, so check it out. Lie in Ruins Demise. This is the 4th EP from this Finnish death metal act. I own their album Floating in Timeless Dreams, and I saw this one, I figured why not give that one a whirl. I thought that album was pretty decent. And this band is, I guess, almost a super group. It does feature current former members of Corpsest, Sargeist, and Desolate Shrine, which are all bands that I really like. So I figured why not check out this one, and this is an interesting EP. First off, it's technically one song, but broken up into 5 parts, and that song is Demise. Not really a big surprise there. It starts off with a more atmospheric vibe. You get a long, kind of dry, throaty growl, and then this pretty much just plays straight up Finnish death metal, like very much in the vein of like Gorephilia, early Sentence, lots of like doomy riffs, and then faster, like more blasty sections that definitely sound a bit more like Morbid Angel. I do think the production is like a little bit on the muddy side, and the vocals kind of sit way back in the mix, which I thought was kind of odd. But when it came down to the transition between parts, in terms of like, writing this one giant song and movements, I thought they did a really solid job, especially on parts 2 and 3. 2 has some absolutely amazing riffs on it, but the Death Doom breakdown on there I think is absolutely fantastic. It's haunting, it's a little bit more cavernous sounding, and then 3 kind of goes like full bore Celtic Frost, like a little bit of like monotheist kind of comes in there. You get these big droning guitars, it sounds a little bit more blackened and snarly. And honestly, as this song goes on, the sections get more dark and twisted until you get to 5, which actually has a pretty haunting but still very melodic kind of acoustic part at the end to kind of cap it off. I think the whole thing is really well written. I do have some slight production issues, but overall I really dug this. I mean, honestly, I actually like this a little bit more than the full length I have. I think this is just more thought out. The riffs really kind of jump out. I wouldn't mind like some slightly cleaned up production, or maybe some vocals like push forward a little bit more, but outside of that, musically, I think this is just fucking fantastic, and I love Finnish death metal, so yeah, this was kind of an easy win if done right, and I think they did it pretty damn well here. So yeah, if you, again, like bands like Gorephilia, Early Sentenced, I would say early Amorphous too, and well, I mean, kind of all the bands that they're involved in too, even to a degree Sargeist too, because there are some moments in here that are a little bit blackened. But yeah, if any of that sounds good, definitely check this out. Living Sacrifice, Nonexistent. This is the second album from this Little Rock, Arkansas, well, at least at this point in their career, death thrash act. I got into this band when they were definitely more along the lines of like metalcore and groove metal with the hammering process, but I really like their early death thrash sound. I think it's fucking awesome, minus one thing that I'll get to. But fairly recently, I got their self-titled debut album. I absolutely love the riffs on there. It's fast, it's aggressive, it's so aggro you don't think it's Christian, which yeah, this band gets so heavy I have to remind myself that they are a Christian metal band. And I really had to remind myself of that on the intro in here because it's creepy Gregorian chants, which, yeah, no, I get that that actually fits Christian metal maybe a little bit more in a way, but overall they're used to sound creepy and ominous and to make you think church is a creepy place, which kind of is. But I don't know, that was just a little weird. But this definitely continues along the lines of their debut album, albeit I think this is notably more groovy. Like, you still have great thrashy bangers in here. The title track, Atonement, Chemical Straitjacket. Hell, Haven of Blasphemy actually has blast beats and like sinister tremolo riffs. This whole album musically is awesome, and I think definitely showcases more dynamics in the songwriting. The more groovy, sinister riffs that are on like Atonement and Void Expression kind of showcases they were pushing more towards like a death metal sound. And there's a lot more clean passages on here just in terms of clean playing. And man, it just sounds damn good, except for one thing. And yeah, it's the vocals once again. These early ones featuring Darren Johnson as their bassist and vocalist. Well, he sounded awful. Like, the best example I could make is, you know how the non-death metal fans say, well, that's just a bunch of screaming, it's just barking nonsense. This one, I guess you could give him a pass on because I don't know if he's trying to say words half the time. Like, it just has this very shrill, I don't know, like, it just doesn't sound good, and that has always been my issue with the early stuff. Musically, I think this is fucking top-notch. I loved every song in here. They're energetic, they're bombastic, they sound sinister and dark despite being Christian. The breakdowns are fucking disgusting on here, but man, the vocals are just off-putting. And the bonus track, it layers the vocals more on that track. It's like, dude, why? That's the worst thing to layer. Layer literally anything else except for that dude's voice. It sounds like someone caught like 3 Tasmanian devils in a fucking bear trap and they're all gnawing at each other. It's bad, but the album is good. The album is actually awesome. So if you can just think of this as a instrumental and someone is playing a fucking rabid Wolverine as an instrument, yeah, then go with that. But yeah, this early stuff from Living Sacrifice is fucking savage. Just riff after riff. I mean, if you're a big fan of like early Sepultura, like namely Beneath the Remains, Slayer, Vader to a degree, definitely check this out. This is an absolutely sick album. All right, the next 4 of these albums are all by one band, and I went on a binge finding their stuff because, well, A, I knew they were reissuing some, and B, one of the copies that I got of one of their albums is just kind of cool, and you saw it probably in the recap of Denver Deathfest, but I'm going to show it anyway. But yeah, that band is Macabre, and this is their 2nd album, Sinister Slaughter. This is the reissue that came out, I believe, this year on Nuclear Blast. Yup. And I have been a fan of this band for a long time. Hyper influential band to extreme metal in general. They kind of walked a line between grindcore, death metal, thrash metal. It was all kind of blended together. And it's serial killers, dark humor, and metal. I can't think of a happier marriage right there. This is probably one of the only bands I would say that loves serial killers more than Church of Misery, though I'm pretty sure Church of Misery would debate that. But yeah, I've been meaning to get more of their stuff because the only stuff I have is the Grim Scary Tales, which isn't that good, to be honest. And the most recent one, which I do think is pretty decent, but it's this old stuff that I heard years ago that I never followed up on that I really needed because, holy shit, this album is absolutely amazing. First off, Corporate Death is such an underrated guitarist. This is so damn riffy, and there's a lot of flashy lead play. The drum work is fantastic, the bass work is fantastic. Nefarious and Dennis the Menace, I love all of their names, are such a super talented trio. And I think that kind of gets overlooked just because of how silly and ridiculous they are, because, I mean, all these songs are about serial killers, and they're done in sort of comical form. Even the vocals are strange. They alternate between just like low growls and high shrieks that are like kind of comical, honestly, but I think that's the idea. And some like, occasional clean vocals that pop up. But man, dude, the music is so well done. And granted, these songs are very short, but they're very intricate in terms of like, the turns they take and the weird transitions they do. And these songs are just ridiculous, but so damn good. The Ted Bundy song is a thrashy barn burner. Same thing with What the Heck, Richard Speck, 8 Nurses, You Wrecked. How do you beat a song title like that? But it's that blend of all their different styles and the weird groovy stuff on here that just makes them uniquely them. Like, there is legit probably no other band that sounds like Macabre, and I don't think I would have it any other way because this is just so damn strange and fun. And this isn't even them at their weirdest yet. Like, this is almost them more focused on just being a strange metal band without anything else. Like, a lot of this is definitely more like death, thrash, and grind. And while it's comical, it feels more just straight ahead about the music. And again, it's just amazing hearing like the level of like technicality and musicianship on something so silly. Like, both of the Mary Bell tracks in here both feature some really nice Spanish guitar. Same thing with What the Hell Did You Do, James Edward Poe. Yeah, I didn't have time to look up every single fucking murderous piece of shit that's mentioned on here, but I knew enough of them. But yeah, this is killer, start to finish. Pun intended when I say killer too, because yeah. If you just like extreme metal in general, I think there's elements you can get into. I think the vocals might be a little too wild in some spots for some people, but I think they're really fun and they add to the comical nature of this. But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. And we're going to get on to the next one that I snagged that was a little bit more special just because of, well, the version I have, and that is Dahmer. This is their third album and the first one that I ever heard way back when this came out, which I think was 2000. Yeah, I remember hearing this on a sampler of some kind and I just did not know what to make of it. I don't even remember which track it was, but I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And I didn't know if I fully got it then, but listening to it now, this is probably still my favorite Macabre album. Mainly because this is where they got even more eclectic. Like, this still has all of the vicious, thrashy spots, the grind, the fucking death metal. In fact, the second track in here, Hitchhiker, has one of the best riffs in their entire fucking catalog. One of the most brutal songs I think they've ever done. But again, it's got that weird sort of comical nature. But this is where they started, you know, injecting more of that nursery rhyme thing that they do. And I think that's kind of a divide with some fans. Like, there's definitely some fans that don't like when they do all the nursery rhyme stuff. And I'm kind of indifferent. Like, I like the straightforward metal shit. I think that's fucking awesome. And there's so much of that on here because this is like 26 tracks of just insane fucking metal. But the nursery rhyme stuff, it adds to that comical, weird, kind of quirky aspect of the band. And yeah, I love that shit. Now, this one was special because this is an old promotional copy from Olympic Records, and that record label is defunct, and you don't see a lot of these promos floating around anymore. But yeah, back to the music and this quirky album. All of this was focused on Dahmer, and they just started clearly having some fun with it. Like Jeffrey Dahmer and the Chocolate Factory, they do the Oompa Loompa song, except with Dahmer theme lyrics, which they're absolutely hilarious. Or the Jeffrey Dahmer Blues, which is a flat out blues metal song with Corporate Death taking on almost like a Billy Gibbons sort of like ZZ Top approach to the vocals. There's even some weird trippy vocals on Baptized. Yeah, this album in terms of its theming, its pacing is priceless. It goes through his entire story. This should have been the fucking soundtrack to that Netflix movie that I didn't watch just because it kind of weirded me out how many people were obsessing over it and then, you know, saying, wow, Jeffrey Dahmer's kind of hot. It's like, did we forget that he fucking killed and ate people? Let's keep that in mind. I remember seeing posts of some lunatic saying there should be a statue erected to Jeffrey Dahmer. I was like, are you fucking insane? People are weird. But, you know, so is this album. But there's a fun disconnect with this one. It even mentions the guy that killed him in prison, Christopher Scarver. And I never knew that guy's name, but now because of that song, I will probably never forget it. But yeah, this is still probably my favorite Macabre album just because this was the first one I heard. And while I didn't get it initially back then, 23 years ago, I get it now, and I fucking love it now. So yeah, if you've never checked out this one by Macabre, check out this one as well as all their albums pretty much. But yeah, this one especially. And then we're going to get on to kind of a weird one in their discography. This is an EP simply called Morbid Campfire Songs, and this is billed as Macabre Minstrels. And this is just a 5-track EP of acoustic songs. It is just Nefarious and Corporate Death. There's no Dennis the Menace on this one because there are no drums or percussion. It's just them singing songs about weird, dark stuff. But, you know, it's the covers on here that I really got, like The Cat Came Back, because, I mean, I like that fucking song, and I grew up with it, and I remember watching a cartoon that was really hilarious about that song. But yeah, this is their softer but still very goofy side. There's a lot of, like, Americana, US folk sort of vibes to it, and honestly, for what it is, it's pretty good. Like, this isn't exactly what I was looking for in terms of, like, picking up more Macabre stuff, but at the same time, I was still grossly entertained because that is exactly what this band does. They entertain you. Unless you don't like dark humor, then what the fuck are you doing even bothering with this band? But anyway, not really like a necessary own, but I picked it up and I still enjoyed it. And if I'm being honest, I'll probably go to the other albums that I picked up more often than this one, but it was still entertaining. But yeah, fun album, or EP rather, and then picked up their fourth album, Murder Metal. Now this is another 2023 remaster from Nuclear Blast, and looking around, I don't think they have one for Gloom, their first album. They might not have the rights to that album yet, I don't know. But this is another banger, and a little bit more technical in spots, I'd say, but also maybe a little bit more catchy. Like, I think the riffs on here are some of their catchiest songs ever just because of the melodies. It still has its thrashy pockets, but there's a lot more groove on here. There's maybe like a little bit more attention paid to hooks. I mean, granted, their songs are all fucking, you know, insane, and of course they're about serial killers once again. But there's an element of, God, I don't think maturity is the right word, but I suppose I could say maturity just in terms of the songwriting. Like, it feels a little bit more controlled, and there are elements of that I like, but there's also elements of that unhinged fucking awesomeness from the earlier years that I like maybe a little bit more. I feel like they lost like a little bit of the death metal this time, and then this is a little bit more like thrash metal and groove metal overall. There are some interesting twists and turns, like the synthy intro on Werewolf of Bedburg and the really strange guitar effects on Wustenfeld Maneater. Again, this is more shit I probably should have looked up, but I didn't. Now, the last track was kind of interesting because it's a 12-minute track, and I thought, oh, wow, they're going to do like this big, lavish fucking song. And honestly, it starts off very proggy. It's called Fritz Harman der Metzger. I have no idea what he did, but I'm reasonably sure what he did was probably something awful. But yeah, like how it has these, you know, kind of more sinister but kind of proggy melodies to start, and then it moves into tremolo riffs and nursery rhymes. I don't know, it's just kind of clever and fun. But the song itself ends around 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and then you have crickets and crows and creepy Halloween noises until about the 11-minute mark, and then you get this like hardcore song at the end. Like, it kind of sounds like Biohazard, and I don't know, it feels like just sort of like a gag song, like, you know, one of those little hidden tracks. And that was still kind of popular in 2003 when I believe this came out. But yeah, having never listened to this one specifically, I was kind of expecting like a bigger fucking Macabre song. And what I got was, well, I mean, it was longer in terms of the track length, but I feel like there was a lot of just wasted space in there. But overall, I still really enjoyed this album. Out of the three that I picked up, I would say I like the other two a bit more, but this is still really good. And yeah, if you have never jammed Macabre before, just dive into this band because they are so delightfully weird and unbelievably talented. Like, the musicianship of this band, I think, is just fucking wild. Corporate Death is like a fucking secret weapon of a guitarist in death metal. Again, you just don't expect the level of playing that this band has for a band that is as silly and strange as they are. Just check them out. They're fucking ridiculous fun. Master, Let's Start a War. This is the fourth album from this, well, alright, it's kind of an interesting period in this band's history. They probably were still based out of Chicago at this point, but I think this is when Paul Speckman moved to Czechia, or Czech Republic, or whatever it is. He actually joined Krabathor for a while, and then he just decided, well, fuck it, I'm just going to stay here, and I think that kind of pissed off the rest of the band, because the rest of the band did not join him in this, because the other members on this are from Krabathor. So I believe this is the first one that he did when he was in the Czech Republic. And this is kind of a mixed bag. I like a lot of Master, especially their first two albums, but it's kind of a mixed bag after that. Like, you know, they kind of hold the course on what they do. Very meat and potatoes, lots of D beats, lots of like crust punk sort of, you know, riffs here and there. And that is a really good chunk of this. In fact, this album kind of just holds the course on one beat for most of the time outside of a few tracks in here. The production here, I don't like the sound of the drums. Like, the drums just sound, I don't know, like very compressed and weird sounding. The guitars are insanely loud on here. In fact, I jumped when this first came on. Now, while you had the drummer and one of the guitarists from Krabathor on here, they aren't listed by their actual names. They are listed as Harry Truman and Ronald Reagan, which I do think is pretty funny, but I think the guitar work is all right. The drum work sounds good. It's just, again, that drum sound overall. And the songs really kind of just run into one another. Like, they don't have a lot of character for the most part. Like, there are some ones that really stand up, like Purchase a New Handgun, which is a blues song. It's a flat out goofy blues song about buying a gun. I do like the smooth bass lines and the leads in that song. I do think it is pretty well done for what it is. It's kind of odd that the third track on here is a cover. It's a Nazareth cover of Miss Misery, and it's good. It just feels kind of out of place as the third track on the album. Like, you'd figure you want the cover maybe like a little bit later. Like, you know, start off with more of your own music rather than just 2 tracks of it. And they kind of make it like to a death and roll song, and it's, you know, pretty decent. There are some thrashy bangers in here, like American Freedom, Dictators, the odd grindy song, Watch What You Wish For, which has a pretty hostile answering machine message directed at Paul, which I think he fired back in that one. I don't know, it was kind of weird because you get this kind of grindy start, and then you get this long section of this answering machine message, which definitely kind of remind me of like Message to Harry Manback off of Tool's Anima. And yeah, I don't know, it's just sort of an odd song in there, but the rest of the time it's Obituary, Jungle Rot, D-Beat, kind of stays the same. And outside of the few surprises that are on here, it was just kind of boring to listen to. Still, I urge you to check it out, form your own opinions. Who knows, you might really dig this one. This one just wasn't for me. This is the 2022 remaster on Hammerheart, so it might sound a lot different from the original, but yeah, I didn't like the overall sound of this album. But yeah, I'd say if you're an old school death metal fan and you just like Master in general, check it out. Who knows, you might really dig this one. Necrophobic Death to All. This is the 6th album from this Swedish blackened death metal act, fucking legends in the scene. Also, they were probably one of my big introductions to blackened death metal fucking way back. Now, this is one of the 2022 reissues, the one with the cool pentagram along the side of the slip cover, but I haven't got all those yet. I got the one before this, which I can't think of the name of that one, and I'm still missing Blood Hymns. I think that's the only one I'm missing, so I'll probably get that remaster for that one. But I have all their other stuff, and I fucking love this band. They do blackened death metal so well. They lean a little bit more on the black metal side. It's very cold and very sinister and evil, but it's also epic and melodic. And it does so without being cheesy, because there's tons of just like ferocious aggro energy on here, like the thrashy riffs all over Revelation 666, or the more epic striding gallops and grooves on For Those Who Stayed Satanic. We Salute You. That part's not on there. But yeah, it's a great balance of just aggro, nasty riffing, which I love the guitar work in this band. I think it's like always exceptional, even on some of their weaker albums, which even their weaker albums are honestly still pretty damn good. I didn't like the follow-up to this one very much, Womb of Lilithu. I thought that was kind of a so-so album, but still it wasn't bad at all. I don't think this band actually has a bad album. In fact, their last 2 have been absolutely fucking incredible. But the only issue I think I had on this one was The Tower, where I think it's an awesome, epic song, but I think the keyboards get to be a bit much on there, and it kind of takes away from the riffy, sinister edge, which, again, you know, the strength of this band, I think, is just definitely in the guitar work. Like, I love the vocals. I think the drum work's always solid, but man, the guitar work in here is just killer. Like, there are so many catchy riffs, and the lead work in here is always exceptional. It's also just a good balance of atmosphere and just flat out riffs. And yeah, this band just excels at pretty much everything they do. Like, I really don't have any issues with this band at all as far as their discography. I think it's all really quality. Even some of the weaker albums, again, I still think are pretty good. They're just not as good as others. But yeah, if you've never heard this one, it's another banger. I mean, if you like Necrophobic and you haven't heard this one, there's a damn good chance you're probably going to like this one, because it sounds like Necrophobic, and once again, they're executing their sound on a high level. And honestly, if you haven't jammed Necrophobic, this wouldn't be a bad place to start, because this album does everything that Necrophobic does really well. So yeah, definitely check this one out. Nevermore, Dreaming Neon Black. This is the 3rd album from this Seattle progressive metal, heavy metal, groove metal, I don't know, Nevermore. It's hard to describe them other than just saying Nevermore, and then if you're a metal fan and you've heard of this band, you know exactly what they sound like. And I have been missing this one for so damn long, and this is one that I absolutely needed, because I heard songs from this, namely Poison God Machine. I fucking love that song. But this whole album, absolutely whoops ass. I would say this is up there with their strongest albums. I'm a big fan of Politics of Ecstasy, but honestly, I'm a big fan of all of them, and I've been meaning to get this one for a while. And I found one of those gold disc versions, the Brutal Planet Century Media reissues. There's even like a card in it, which will probably just stay in here. But this album is absolutely amazing. Some of the riffs in here are just some of their best. Dude, Beyond Within, that riff that kicks off that song lives rent-free in my fucking head. The songs are well structured, the riffs are heavy and sinister. Even with Worldane's very epic, powerful, clean vocals, it never comes across as cheesy. It actually comes across as more dark and morose. And there's a really good reason to it, because I guess this album is themed around something very dark. I believe a lot of this was based around Worldane's ex-girlfriend or ex-fiance. She and her soon-to-be husband, after they had split, had kind of fallen in with like a cult and ended up the victims of the truck stop murderer or truck stop killer. It was a serial killer in the area, and that was fucking horrible. And that inspired a lot of the lyrics and themes on this album. And honestly, it gives this album such a dark, foreboding feeling, especially in its like softer, more like, you know, I would say like dirgy, because it really doesn't come across as ballady even when it's softer. Like the title track especially is just a dark, brooding, slower, very moody track. I love the construction on it, and the leads all over here are just so damn good. Now this would be their first one with Tim Calvert as the second guitarist, because Pat O'Brien had left because he got the offer to join Cannibal Corpse and he wanted to do more brutal music, and that's definitely the band to do that with. And I think with him leaving, this band was getting a little bit more diverse in terms of their writing, because I mean, you have more dark, moody tracks that are not all as aggressive. Especially Deconstruction, The Lotus Eaters, which is a fantastic song. I love the chorus on there. But yeah, this is one of their heaviest and darkest albums, and I love it. The only thing I didn't like was, at least in the original version, the last track, Forever, which starts off really well. You feel like it's building up to like a very grand, somber song, like it's a little bit more subdued, and then it kind of just stops and you have this long period of silence at the end. I don't know if that was in the original or it's just on this reissue, but it was kind of odd. But this reissue does have their cover of Judas Priest Love Bites, and it's a really solid cover. So yeah, overall, amazing. Amazing album, amazing pickup. Really solid remaster too. It sounds really crisp. And yeah, so far I'd like these gold disc versions. They're kind of cool. But yeah, if you have never jammed Nevermore before, this is an excellent place to start. And if you have, there's probably a good chance you own this album, because it's, I think, one of their best. But yeah, regardless, check it out. Amazing album, amazing band. One of these days we definitely want to do a ranking for him. I know that's on Shred's list for damn sure, because he loves all things Jeff Loomis. But yeah, killer stuff. Amazing pickup. Pact, God Only Knows. This is the fourth album from this Pennsylvania-based black metal act. I brought up their debut album, The Dragon Lineage of Satan, in a underrated black metal video forever ago. I saw this one sit in the rack and was like, you know what? I only have that debut, and I kind of wonder what they sound like now, because this one came out in 2022, and they sound different now, but not like completely far removed from the debut, just bigger. Now, I like riffy black metal. Like, give me riffs all day in terms of like any genre in metal. But for me, riffy black metal is like the best black metal. I love hearing riffs, and I like hearing that cold atmosphere mixed together, and this band really does that well. This album is definitely different than the debut. Like, the guitars are a little bit more muffled and sludgy, especially the bass. The bass has this kind of warm but kind of like just dirty sound to it, and the vocals are a little bit more, you know, distorted and a little bit more dynamic. Like, you get all the black metal screams you could ever ask for, but there's also clean vocals on here. Like the song Awakening of the Nine, you think it's building up to like harsher vocals as it starts into this kind of creepy atmospheric start, and then you get these almost sort of chanted, echoey, clean vocals, and it's like really haunting and just kind of creepy and unsettling, and adds a different dimension to this band that I really don't think they had before. Like, yeah, sure, they were great at riffs, they had all the black metal tropes going, but there's a lot more stuff going on in here. Like, you still have like vicious black metal songs like Magic Black, The Oracle, Jezebel. But honestly, it's the darker, slower, moodier tracks, like again, Awakening of the Nine, Mortal, which is like an 8.5 minute, just moody, dark, almost kind of like post black metal sort of sound to it, and Path of Illumination. These songs kind of stand out for being creepy and haunting, but not necessarily in like a flat out black metal way. Just like a different sort of setting, like almost like post black metal. Like there's definitely some stuff in here that reminds me a lot of Macabre too, just in terms of like the blasts, the tremolos, and the melodies. But there's almost that sort of like post black metal feel on the more atmospheric tracks. But at the same time, like where it's dark and sinister, like it has, again, it's goofier moments, like Christ-loving horror. They definitely have a lot of fun with the samples on there, lots of moaning and such. It definitely sounds like she's getting the Corpus Christi. And with the last two tracks in here, Harlot of the Stars and Death Fire Satan, I mean, we have horrors, we have harlots, we have Jezebels, and we have Death, Fire, and Satan. That sounds like a fucking party to me. So yeah, there is maybe a little bit of levity there, whether it was intended to be that way or not. It still kind of came across that way, and I still liked it. In fact, I like this entire album. This is really fucking good. I kind of expected this to sound like the debut, but this band is clearly pushed in some different directions, and I think musically it really works out. Like you got a great balance of like more traditional, like kind of like second wave black metal stuff, but you also have the more expansive, moodier, more atmospheric stuff that I think is like the better material on here overall. But yeah, if you like Macabre, Garia, I would say that's kind of comparable. Armageddon too, in terms of just the flat out riffiness on here. Definitely check this out. This is a really solid release. Poon, Tickler, Sex, Gore, and Grindcore. This is the debut EP from this Florida-based gore grind slash porno grind, but like not the annoying kind. This is one of the bands that played at Denver Deathfest. I believe they played in the first night, and they didn't have a drummer, which was kind of a theme for like a lot of the earlier bands, a lot of program beats, but they do have a drummer in the studio, and that drummer is one Eric Marotti of Suffocation, and he just couldn't make it to the show because Suffocation had some tour commitments. So this band played as a two-piece, and it was absolutely awesome. This is very old school gore grind in terms of the style. Like it's just rotten, filthy, lots of pig squeals, grindy fucking riffs, punky, it's blasty, and I'm reasonably sure I can't say a single song title on here, otherwise I'll be on YouTube shit list once again. You got some really cool vocal flips, grindy two-steps. The samples are inappropriate and appropriate considering the context. There were some song titles that I really wasn't sure what they were talking about. There are some on here that I really know what they're talking about just because there's no way around it. And I just don't know if I should read any of these. Well, I don't know. Maybe the opening track, Choking on Menstrual Chunks. That doesn't seem like it has any trigger words for the algorithm on there. But that's like maybe the tamest one on here. Like track 3 on here, I really wasn't sure what they meant by the title, and then the sample came in and I was like, oh god, I know exactly what they mean in that song title. And yeah, no, it's fucked up. I mean, in a humorous fucked up way, but it's definitely fucked up. Just think Clerks 2 around the end and the giant party inside of movies. But yeah, we actually got to hang out with both members of this band, and they were both super cool. We talked about grindcore and death grind and death metal and other stuff. I don't know. I was definitely drinking at this point, but this was an absolutely fun listen. I do think the production's a little quiet. Like it just needed to like boost it up in the volume, but overall it sounds exactly what you would expect from gore grind. It's filthy and rotten sounding and ridiculous fun. So yeah, if you like grindcore and hilarious samples and just super inappropriate humor, like not safe for work, not safe for most situations, that kind of shit, definitely check this out. This was an absolute blast, and this band fucking kills it live. And pretty sure Miller got a shirt, but I haven't seen him wear it anywhere yet. Probably for the best. But if he has wore it in public, more power to him, and hopefully he got some great reactions from the crowd. But yeah, check this out. It's good fun. Pyrexia Age of the Wicked. This is the third album from these New York brutal death metal legends. They were one of the headliners at Denver Deathfest. They put on an amazing show. Super fucking nice dudes too, especially Chris. I got to bullshit with him a bit, and just super thankful. Wanted to hang out and talk to all the fans. Fucking great dude. Now this might seem familiar because this is the copy I kept for myself when I bought 2 copies because I had been drinking and that went in the giveaway, and yeah, that's the story there. I generally don't drink much at shows, but that one was kind of just a fucking party, so yeah, I kind of went a little ham a couple of those nights. Anyway, I really don't own much Pyrexia. I have one of their more recent albums, and I have, of course, their legendary debut, Sermon of Mockery, which is fucking amazing, but I didn't have anything in between, and I'd heard their second album was kind of a rough patch in terms of the band's career, and it's kind of hard to find. But this is where they got back on track. Came back with a new vocalist, Eric Schut, which I had to look up why he wasn't in the band anymore, and that was kind of an interesting story because apparently he's serving 3 life sentences for being an accessory to murder. I guess there was some fucked up shit that went down in West Virginia, and yeah, that's what happened to him. He's only on 2 albums, and this is one of them, and yeah, kind of fucked up. But anyway, they had broken up in 99 and then reformed in 2001, started playing shows, and this was their first album, you know, coming back after that long hiatus, and it fucking rips. Eric's vocals are a little bit different when you listen to, well, Sermon of Mockery and all the stuff that he's not on. They have a more like straightforward brutal death metal, you know, vocalist, like kind of more similar to like Suffocation in terms of that deep roar that Frank has. It was more similar to that. This is more of like a hardcore shout, like kind of a more of a mid-range growl. And honestly, they sound really good, but it's just something you really don't associate with brutal death metal because that is the style overall. Like there really aren't a lot of like really deep vocals on here. But what this album does have is fucking killer riffs, nasty grooves, breakdowns, blast beats. Like this has everything. This was like just a solid fucking comeback. And it actually features 2 awesome drummers who both played in Suffocation. You have Dave Coolross, who did some of the tracks, and you also have Doug Bone, who was on Pierced from Within, which is my favorite Suffocation album. And it's kind of interesting because you can tell the difference between tracks in terms of who's on drums because they have different styles. But regardless of who's on the drums, man, it's just vicious sounding. You have great groovy songs in here. Shackles of the Mind is a thrashy ripper. I can't remember if it's Song of Hate or Lifelong Hate. It might be Song of Hate. It's kind of a problem when you have 2 songs with the word hate in it. You only write down the word hate as, yeah, it's that track. But one of them has this really interesting lead in with like Satan and hell and demons, and you hear like a baby screaming and a woman crying and something being sizzled. It sounds like they're grilling a baby. Like there's a cookout in hell and they're grilling a baby, and it's staying on one side way too long. Like I'm just kind of waiting for Satan to come over and it's like, you're gonna flip that baby over because it's gonna burn if you don't. Like I like my baby like medium rare, so if you could just flip it over, get a little bit even on there. And of course grill marks. Grill marks are very important when grilling a baby. But yeah, it was just kind of odd, especially since like the rest of the album is just so straight to the point and just brutal as hell. Like it doesn't scream evil. It just screams, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, or in Eric's case, maybe murder you, or at least help out with that. Sorry, going to bring that up again, but that was sort of a weird thing I found out about this album. But overall, this album's just fucking sick. It's brutal as hell, it's groovy, it's punchy, like, it's just a solid, fucking nasty, riffy album, and I'm so glad I fucking picked it up. So yeah, if you're a fan of, again, like Suffocation, Dying Fetus, I would say, but again, like, not the same kind of vocals. The vocals, again, a little bit different for the style, but they're still really good. Check this out. It is just nasty from start to finish. And yeah, I can't wait for some more Pyrexia in the future because I believe they are working on something new. So yeah, definitely plan on reviewing that when it comes out. But yeah, check this one out in the meantime. Rottenness Violentopia. This is the 3rd album from this Mexican/US brutal death metal / death grind act. Kind of an interesting story with this band. Last year when I was at Heavy Hell, I ran into Metal Viking 82, and he was awesome enough to give me a copy of this band's 2nd album, which it had a weird German name, and it was pretty raunchy. I really wasn't like that huge of a fan of it. Didn't think it was like terrible or anything. It just really wasn't my style. And then find out later that Miller and John had helped book this band to play the Deathfest. And I was like, man, hopefully they didn't see me talk kind of some shit about that last album. But seeing them live, they absolutely fucking crushed it. Now, what was interesting about this band is they actually shared some members with Gorgatron. In fact, Carl Schmidt played bass and did backup vocals, and the drummer for Gorgatron, Matt Johnson, I believe his name was doing drums with them. And their frontman, Matthias Joyce, was also the same guy that fronted Invidiosus and Formless Master. That's where I got all this shit from, and this is the band that I've been alluding to that was the band that played, and holy shit, they had a great set. And this is just really solid, well, I mean, kind of as advertised, brutal death metal and death grind. I would say it is a little bit more on the brutal death metal side. There's definitely some more like straightforward, kind of groovy, brutal death metal songs. Still tons of blast beats and grind sections, but I mean, one that really stood out, not only for the name, but also for just how flat out heavy it is, Bitch Made at Birth. That song is a flat-out slam song. Like, it is just one continuous groovy pummeling, pretty much designed for people to fucking knock each other's teeth out in the fucking pit, too. But this still has its grindy fits of violence with Altered Carbon, Tripping Corpse, and Napalm Meth. And they're really good at the grind side, but I think this brutal death metal side of the band is where it really fucking hits. Like, dude, these songs are just fucking vicious. Dragged Across Concrete, Paranoid Butcher, Nightmare Killing Spree. The songs are definitely fun, and I love the artwork on here. That is just absolutely wild looking. The whole zombified Mesoamerican fucking weirdness on here. Pretty much everything about this band from the last one I listened to is flat out better. The production's better, I like the vocals better, just the riffs are fucking tighter. Now, I do believe this band broke up for a little bit after that last one and then reformed with this lineup and did this one. And yeah, no, they came back even stronger in here. This is just a vicious banger of an album, and yeah, I dig the fuck out of it. So yeah, kind of a reprieve from the last one, which again, I don't think is necessarily terrible. It just really wasn't my thing. And I'm still super appreciative that Metal Viking gave me that too. But yeah, this is the improved model. Definitely check this out. It is packed full of just chuggy, violent fucking riffs and some solid, good death grind moments too. But I would say most of this is just on the brutal death metal side, and nothing wrong with that. So if any of that sounds good, definitely check this one out. Sermon, Birth of the Marvelous. This is the debut album from this UK prog / alternative metal mystery band. It is a two-man group featuring Jamie Stewart, formerly of Vader, currently in Decapitated on drums, and some gentleman known as Him on vocals and literally everything else. And this is fucking awesome. Now, we went over their most recent album of Golden Verse not too long ago, and it legit blew us the fuck away. And I've been jamming it ever since. I've been fucking hooked on it. And I saw this one in one of the record stores. I'm like, all right, now I gotta hear this album that I completely missed that apparently was getting rave reviews back when it came out, and I just never fucking noticed it. And they're right. It's fucking awesome. Lots of like Tool, Nine Inch Nails, Opeth, bit of Killing Joke in there. A lot of the stuff in here I would say is very comparable to Soen, albeit more dynamic than at least they are now. Like, I'm still not a huge fan of that last Soen album, but their previous work I love a lot. It's very much in that vein. The drum work is absolutely fantastic. Lots of cool tribal rhythms. The vocals are absolutely amazing. There's a few more harsh vocals on here too, which they're a little bit more scattered on the new one, but the dude has an excellent clean vocal approach, which I have no problem with. The bellows are powerful. He's got some softer vocals that add to the atmosphere as well, which I really like. Kind of comparable to Maynard in a lot of ways too, but I just flat out dig this. This band has a very haunting sound. There's a lot of themes about royalty, like kind of throughout both albums I've noticed. And I haven't really gone over the lyrics very, thoroughly, but that was just something I noticed. This also has moments that remind me of the more Host-esque Years of Paradise Lost too, like big lush synths and the more, God, I wouldn't say quiet moments because it's still very intense, but and then more atmospheric moments. You do have some heavier tracks here, like namely Contrition. That one has like some heavier syncopated grooves. There's some more polyrhythms to it. And there's even like a heavy, almost like kind of Pantera-esque riff that comes in, the breakdown in that song. But it's the last two tracks in here, Chasm and The Preacher that are probably my favorite. And definitely have a lot of echoes of Tool in there. I think The Preacher has like a syncopated guitar rhythm that's very similar to The Grudge, which is definitely up there with my favorite Tool songs. I don't know if it's as good as the new one. I think the new one is just absolutely fantastic, but man, this is really good too. A little bit different, but either way, get either one of these. If you were a big fan, again, of Opeth, Killing Joke, Paradise Lost, 9 Inch Nails to a degree, and Soen. I would definitely say Soen, maybe even Catatonia too. Yeah, if any of those bands sound good to you, definitely check this out. This has become kind of a new favorite here lately, and yeah, I don't see myself not jamming this for a while, even though I know I have a ton of other shit to jam, but yeah, this is fantastic. Check it out. Siege, Drop Dead. This is the 30th anniversary edition of this Massachusetts hardcore act's lone full-length, hyper influential to both hardcore, grind, power violence, all that shit. This is some absolutely spastic, nutty shit. I've been meaning to get this for a while just because I've heard it brought up so much, and in terms of grind, I mean, I fucking love it, and also the early stuff is kind of interesting because it's those formative years, and I wouldn't say this band was necessarily a grindcore band, but in terms of their style, it's very similar to like the first two Napalm Death albums, and in terms of the noisy power violence stuff, you could definitely hear this band's influence. This album is violent, chaotic, vicious. Every song seems like it's just ready to lose its shit, despite having some like, you know, bass and drum lead-ins that seem a little bit more calm. It freaks out into blast beats and D beats and fucking almost like inhuman fucking shrieking. It sounds like a goblin just yelling at you on a good chunk of these songs. Most of this I would describe as like Bad Brains and Minor Threat on bath salts. The songs just freak the fuck out. There's a lot of punk chords, but they're played so heavy and so aggressive. It's kind of sloppy, but I don't know, like it's about the energy, about that explosive nature. And when it comes down to experimental stuff, the one song that really stands out is Grim Reaper. Grim Reaper is 7.5 minutes, which is absolutely unheard of in grindcore, pretty much. But it's not a grindcore song. It's not a hardcore song. It's a weird experimental noise song that has like a drum and bass groove that carries throughout it. And then we get into noisy feedback, shrieks, and saxophone. Like layered saxophone. That song I would describe as like Miles Davis and Napalm Death doing a split together, and also maybe some LSD as well. It is such a weird song. It doesn't even make a tremendous amount of sense. Like it is just purely experimental and weird, and I'm reasonably sure out there that that song is someone's favorite. Like that is their favorite fucking song by this band. And I don't know if I ever want to meet that person, because that says a lot about that person already. That song is just a mental breakdown with a rhythm to it. I don't fucking fully get it. But the rest of it I think is really solid, and the fact that this came out in 1984 and I can hear pretty much all of this stuff in a lot of the music I listen to, especially on the grindcore and hardcore side. Like I can hear Converge, you know, pulling stuff from here. I can hear Disrupt pulling stuff from here, as well as Napalm Death, and even, you know, like Discordant Access and shit like that. This is just sort of the rough template for it, and even the original Sessions outtakes they peppered on here towards the end. Two-Faced and Questions Behind the Wall, those songs have got some good riffs to them. They're actually like a little bit catchy, you know, before they completely freak out and try to tear your face off. I don't know if this is something I would jam all the time, but I definitely appreciate it, especially for its significance in terms of like musical evolution, or maybe like de-evolution in a sense. It's just an absolutely insane album before albums like this really existed. So yeah, you know, being kind of pioneers in terms of whatever the hell they were. I mean, again, not necessarily grindcore, but not necessarily hardcore. Power violence wasn't a thing yet. I don't know. They were just this ravenous, fucking twisted band that only lasted a short time. They did reunite for a little while with Seth Putnam on vocals from Anal Cunt, and I'm pretty sure that went about as well as expected, because Seth was Seth. But regardless, check this out. If you're a grindcore freak and you've never heard this, you'll definitely appreciate it for what it is. It's pretty raw, it's pretty rough, but I mean, most of the time that's kind of how we like our grindcore anyway. So yeah, check it out. The Spirit of Clarity and Galactic Structures. This is the third album overall from this German black and death metal act. I actually own two of their albums, Sounds from the Vortex and Cosmic Terror, which are the only other two albums. And I really dig this band. And I had kind of missed out on this one last year. I really wanted to go over it, but I just didn't get around to it, and found it in a record shop in Denver. And this is absolutely awesome. And God, I don't know if it's their best one because this band's really consistent. They have a style that is very similar to like Necrophobic and Dissection. It is very, black metal centric, but there's a lot of death metal riffing on there. There's a lot of thrash metal too. But man, these guys are just tight, and they know how to write giant epic songs. The opening track, the title track, is like 7.5 minutes, and it is a fucking awesome riff fest. While it has like more intense moments, it's the dreary bridge, and actually that bridge that carries out to the end that I absolutely love. But the songwriting dynamics in here are absolutely fantastic. You can flip from, more, atmospheric sections to just purely riff-driven sections to just bruising breakdowns. And it's all done very seamlessly. Like, the whole album flows beautifully. The vocals are a little bit more on the black metal side, but occasionally get some deeper roars. There's great guitar harmonies that are kind of Maiden-esque on the climax of Dejection. Celestial Fire is really fucking thrashy, as well as Timber of Infinity, which has some absolutely sick lead work on it. The production's excellent. I love the sound of the guitar on here. Like, this band just does everything right. Like, I love the heavy metal throwbacks that are on Arcane Wanderer. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Tribulation, which, spoiler alert, that'll come up in the next collection update. And the closing instrumental, Lani Akia, is absolutely fantastic. It has these pulsating synths. It's a little bit more of a proggy jam, like with some weird shifts, and it's just moody and dark. And it's not the only instrumental on here, but it's the only one that I think honestly matters, because there's a transitional like interlude one, which is called Transition, so kind of telegraph there. But it is really good, and honestly, I got no qualms with this album at all. Like, I really can't think of a moment I didn't like. I think the songwriting on here is the thing that really stands out. It's just excellent. Like, all the songs are just rich, they're lush, there's lots of cool shifts in it, and man, the playing itself is just fantastic. There's loads of melody, there's lots of heavy sections. Like, as much as I like that Necrophobic album in here, I think this one's a little bit better, and I would say like Necrophobic's gotta be an influence of theirs. But yeah, if you like, I would say Necrophobic and Dissection especially, definitely check this band out. This album's fucking fantastic, and honestly, their other ones are really fucking good too, but I don't know. So far, this one could be my favorite. Cosmic Terror was really good too. I don't know. It's a tough call. I'm not ranking shit right now, but I know I really like this, and you should check it out. All right, we have a pair here from Spirit Adrift. We have their debut EP, Behind Beyond, and we have their most recent EP, 20 Centuries Gone. And two very different eras of the band. It's amazing how much, 6 years can change, because this came out in 2016 and this came out in 2022, and yeah, they're very different. Now, early on in Spirit Adrift's career, Nate Garrett kind of had more of a doom metal sound, and that is definitely showcased on here. This is only 2 tracks, both of them over 10 minutes. In fact, the second track is over 15, and they are long, drawn out, very doomy, but very epic. The first track, Spectre of Ruin, is somber, forlorn, but it has this giant kind of almost bright crescendo at the end, which I think is really cool, but lots of atmosphere. It's very lush sounding. And the second track, Perpetual Passage, is absolutely fantastic. 15 minutes of just amazing riffs. It's the heavier of the two, and I just love the sound of it. I love the sound of this EP in general. Like, it's just very organic, kind of analog sounding. The guitars are, thick and doomy, but man, when it comes down to like the clean playing with the bluesy leads that kick off Perpetual Passage, it's just tuneful misery, and it's fucking beautiful. But as the song goes on, you go through some really big shifts. Like, there's a thrashy section, but the big shift on here is the more post-metal bridge on here, like almost kind of Neurosis or Cult of Luna-esque with big bellowed vocals. They're not like super harsh, but they definitely create a very different mood, and it's, again, like more atmospheric, but more dark and kind of sinister. Vocally, I think Nate's always been good, but I think he's gotten better over the years, like more comfortable with the singing voice. And here it's more or less, just a lot of reverby bellows and some croons, and they're pretty good. They serve the songs well. They keep them nice and doomy. But with 20 Centuries Gone, his more recent shift with, I would say, Divided by Darkness, where they kind of really took on a more classic heavy metal sound, kind of mixed in with Doom. Like, you hear a little bit of Doom come in every now and then, but for the most part, I would say they're like kind of a retro heavy metal act now. I think his vocals have improved immensely, and man, the songs in here are awesome. And I mean, they're awesome for a couple of reasons. The two original tracks on here, Sorcerer's Fate and Mass Formation Psychosis, are excellent. Great examples of what he does now, this mix of classic heavy metal, there's great guitar harmonies and leads, and it's very epic, like lots of just 80s flavor all over them, and just sort of embodies everything you like about like classic heavy metal. The riffs are fucking excellent. They're kind of anthemic. They're a little bit dark. Great fucking stuff. But the other tracks in here are all covers, and I really like his selection of songs that he chose to cover, because he chose some really interesting bands, and the order of the covers, it kind of goes backwards in time, and something that kind of shows off all the influences that he has. But with each band, he kind of chose a deeper cut. Like the first cover song that shows up in here is a Typo Negative cover. And I'm sure there's like a whole bunch of Typo Negative songs you're thinking of that were, bigger hits and such, but he went with Everything Dies off of World Coming Down, which is my fucking favorite Typo Negative album. Like, I can't think of a more depressing album. Maybe like My Dying Bride, but I don't know. I think Pete conveyed misery better than most, and crushes it. It's fucking awesome. Like, vocally, of course, it's not quite there, but very few people sound like Pete, and he does his best on there. But the song's excellent. They work in some synths that, I mean, you kind of have to have for a Typo cover, and it does it really faithfully. And then the next cover is a Pantera cover, and there's a litany of fucking songs you cover by Pantera because they had a ton of hits, but they went with Hollow, which is kind of a deep cut as the closer of Vulgar Display of Power. Honestly, it's not one of my personal favorites on that album. I like the song, but it's never really jumped out to me as much as the rest of that fucking album. But again, faithful adaptation. The lead, of course, is really good. And I mean, if you're going to cover Pantera, your lead game better be fucking solid. And then we have a Metallica cover, which, there's a ton of fucking Metallica songs to cover because everyone's already covered them. And granted, this one has been covered before and I have one, but I went with Escape, which Metallica fucking hates that song, but I like that song. Actually, I really like that song. Ride the Lightning is my favorite Metallica album. Spoiler if we ever rank them. But it's fucking damn near perfect. Then you get into the more classic stuff, and you have Thin Lizzy's Waiting for an Alibi off of Black Rose, which is criminally underrated in their discography, and Nasty Dogs and Funky Kings off of Fandango by ZZ Top, which ZZ Top is always welcome, and Poison Whiskey off of Lynyrd Skynyrd's debut album, which is a fucking killer song. He does a great job with all these, and honestly, you can kind of hear the influence of these particular bands in his body of work in general. So both of these were really good for completely different reasons, and I'm really hyped to hear the new one, which comes out later this month. But if you remember jam Spirit Adrift, God, man, honestly, jam any of their albums. I think they're all really good. And granted, they have changed their sound a little bit over the years, but it's still just excellent riff writing, great melodies, great hooks, and both of these are fucking excellent, and the covers on here are a lot of fun. Like, if you're just looking for a fun batch of covers, strongly recommend this. And if you just want some dreary, doomy, bluesy, just awesome songwriting, check out this one too. But check them out both. Spirit Adrift rules. Looking forward to that new one. Stampin' Ground, Carved from Empty Words. This is the third full length from this UK metallic hardcore / thrash metal acts, kind of metalcore, I don't know. Kind of that weird space where they, kind of fit into all of those. Anyway, I've been meaning to get a copy of this album in particular for a while because I have had the song Officer Down on a compilation, and I fucking love it, and that is the opening track in here, and that is a great pace setter. A lot of this is very fast, thrashy, big groovy breakdowns, but the riff work on here is notably more focused on thrash metal than it is like hardcore or anything else. There's a Slayer-ish bite to it, like, I don't know, like a more thrash-centric Unearth. The songs like Officer Down, Everybody Owes a Death, Nothing Changes Nothing, like these songs feel a little bit more thrash metal oriented, especially when it comes down to like the faster sections, but all of them pack just disgusting breakdowns, especially Officer Down. Like that is such a fucking gem of a song. Like it's just pure musical violence, and I fucking love it. And Everybody Owes a Death is, I don't know, like it's this weird kind of midpoint between Slayer and Pantera. Like it definitely has some groove metal elements and some very Pantera-ish riffs, but the faster sections 100% scream Slayer. Honestly, like probably the biggest hardcore song on here might be Ultimatum, the last track, which is just driven by a nasty, chuggy breakdown. It's just heavy, it's in your face, it's more of a hardcore groove. And maybe Bathe My Wounds, but even that kind of has like a slower Slayer song sort of vibe to it with the creepy melodies. The only thing I don't like on here are the vocals. The vocals, I think, are just sort of a standard hardcore shout / scream. They're serviceable, I guess, at best, but, you know, often I don't feel that they have the same impact as the music. Like the riffs are the thing that drive this. And you need a vocalist that's going to kind of carry over that, and I just don't think that this band really had that. But even with the vocals being kind of lackluster, this is just dimed from start to finish. There's really no breaks on this. Like it's just a downhill run of an album, and I like that sort of energy. This is just fuel for mosh pits, and yeah, this is pretty damn solid. I'm probably gonna see if we can find some of their other albums. Maybe, you know, some of the others will have better vocals on it. I don't know. I haven't really checked them out, but this was the one I always had targeted by this band just because fucking Officer Down, that song fucking whoops ass. So yeah, if you like Unearth, Slayer, maybe like Shadows Fall a little bit too, check this out. Fucking gnarly listen. And finally, we have Sworn Enemy, Negative Outlook. This is the debut EP from this New York hardcore / metalcore act. They were more hardcore when they started. Like this has more in the vein of like Cro-Mags, Sick of It All, and though they're not from New York, kind of like Strife, which I know I always bring up that band a lot when it comes down to hardcore, but that's kind of like the style I fucking love in hardcore. That's where I really kind of started. Now, I did want to bring up, at least with this one, I could have brought up with the last one, that this record store that I went to that I picked this up at had a legit hardcore section. And that was just kind of a cool thing to see, because most of the time, most record stores will just kind of lump in all the hardcore stuff in with the metal. And granted, that's efficient, that works. I'm looking for all the heavy shit, and hardcore is still heavy. It's just kind of a different heavy than metal. But I appreciate the fact they actually had that separated out, and it was just kind of cool just to skim through all the hardcore stuff and see if I can find some Victor Record shit that I was missing. But I've been listening to this band for a while. In fact, I saw them at Ozfest 2003, which that was 20 years ago. Fuck. Yeah, anyway, they were on the second stage at Ozfest 2003, and they were kind of the lone, like, hardcore act. A lot of it was still kind of a little bit more nu metal centric, but I ended up liking them. They were similar to Hatebreed. In fact, they were on Jamie Josta's Stillborn Records at the time, I believe. I think that was Jamie that ran that one. He certainly did a lot of promotion for it. And I ended up picking up their album. I believe it was As Real As It Gets, and I thought it was pretty decent. Listening to this is kind of different. Like vocally, it's more of like a straight up hardcore shout. They kind of turned it more into like a more metalcore scream later on, because it did become more metalcore, and then they started infusing like crossover thrash in their music as well. This is just straight hardcore. You have the hardcore grooves, D beats, gang vocals. I mean, this sounds like New York hardcore and literally nothing else. There are more punky riffs scattered in there amongst the hardcore groups you find on, like, let's see, Never and IDS, which stands for Instant Death Squad. And honestly, the production on here is kind of cool, because it kind of sounds like a live jam in the studio. Like, the only thing it's really missing is a little bit of crowd noise, and I mean, it could almost pass as a live album, I think. It's just very natural sounding. It sounds like, again, what you'd expect from New York hardcore. The only real issue I had was the song Pain, which has, I don't know, like the spoken word, and then they're also screaming it. Not at the same time. Like, the spoken word starts it, and then the same line is screamed after it, and was like, dude, fucking pick one. One is enough. You don't need to do both there. That's just kind of doing too much for kind of a simple, straightforward banger of a song. But outside of that, this is a pretty solid EP. It runs about like 20 minutes. And again, it's straight up hardcore. Like if you're, again, a big fan of like Sick of It All, definitely some Cro-Mags in there. Like it just kind of has that energy, a little bit more, I would say, groove in terms of like, you know, those hardcore beatdowns and breakdowns. But yeah, it's pretty fucking good. I haven't really kept up with a lot of their more recent stuff. And I know the archive still has them in the archives. And there's not a positive review to be found on any of their albums. And I think they only like reviewed 2 of them, and neither of them said anything nice. But honestly, I don't really mind this band. I think they're just kind of solid. I get them confused with Full Blown Chaos a lot, which, I mean, yeah, if you listen to Full Blown Chaos, they kind of sound very similar. But yeah, if you like hardcore, again, Strife is a good comparison here. Definitely check this out. All right, that knocks out another one. Thank you for spending probably over an hour with me once again. I've been trying to get more in these in particular just because, well, you know, there's still a lot for me to catch up on, and this is a good way to kind of cover as much as possible. And this was, you know, fun because I got to talk about the Denver Deathfest and all the cool shit I picked up at the fest itself, you know, like the shirt too, and the record stores out there, which were fucking awesome. But yeah, already gonna start working on that next one. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com, which is currently under construction, but that will hopefully change here soon because we are making the order for the t-shirts, and there will probably be a giveaway for a new shirt in there. But definitely stay tuned for that because gears are finally moving. Them. We kind of locked up for a little bit, but we got shit going now. And of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that shit. It means the world to us. Tons of content coming your way. I'm gonna try to get through another collection update here that should hopefully round out all of the Denver stuff. And then I think I'm going to take a little break from collection updates. You know, I know I got stuff already ready to go through, but maybe do a States Metal just because I haven't done one in a while. But yeah, plenty of stuff coming in the future. And again, thank you all so much. It 100% means the world to us. You know, you guys definitely keep us going. And I know I'm fucking blubbering about thank yous and shit like that, but that's what I do at this part because I fucking mean it. You guys all rule, and we will catch you later.